So in a couple of minutes, we'll have our speaker for today's event with us. So I encourage you to please be patient while we wait for today's speaker. Okay, so everyone, like I said, we'll be starting in a couple of minutes. We apologize for the slight delay. Our presenter will be here shortly. While we wait, I'd like to quickly give this information to everyone here. Your certificate for the module session will be provided to you after you have claimed your week 1 certificate, right? And the process of claiming the certificate is that you fill a form, and by the end of this week, the form, say tomorrow, the form should be out for you to fill. And while you are filling that form, we're going to ask you for your key takeaways from this session. We do expect that you give us really good answers that actually demonstrate what you have learned from the week 1 curated content, as well as the sessions, right? So we expect that you give us like really great feedbacks. Once you're done filling that form, expect that you would receive an invite to mint your Module 1 certificate by Tuesday of next week. So by midnight of this Sunday, that's 11 p.m. UTC, right? The form will be still open, but if you fill your form by midnight or after midnight of this Sunday, you will not be able to receive your Module 1 certificate by Tuesday. And that is because we process the certificates in batches. So if you fill your form by 11 p.m. UTC this Sunday, expect that you receive an invite to mint your certificate by Tuesday. If you do not meet up with that Sunday deadline, you will also receive your certificate for Module 1. The only difference is that you will get to receive this invite after the Module 6. So that means that your certificate will be delayed, but you will receive your certificate, right? And so that's just what I wanted to share while we wait for our presenter. If you have questions, please drop your questions in the chat and be sure that we'll respond to them. Yes, you can complete the module by Sunday. You can complete the module after Sunday, because we understand that some of you are working, some of you are schooling, and you may not have the time. So we understand that, right? Would accept your claim for Module 1 after Sunday, but we may not be able to process it until after the week 6, right? Okay. So another thing I'd like to say is that our presenter is actually waiting in the lobby and would like to really appeal to a couple of you to please join us via YouTube Live so that please join us via YouTube Live so that our presenter can come in. Thank you. Okay, so we're asking a couple of you to please join us on YouTube Live. Please join us on YouTube Live. Thank you. Okay. Thank you all so much. Hello, Michael. It's yeah. So I'll just make you a co-host, and then we can start. And you're muted, so you're co-host now, and you can unmute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really good to be here.
Thank you all so much.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate this opportunity to present today on the Uni Masters program. I'm sorry it was slightly delayed. Had some technical difficulties, and yeah, really looking forward to present today. And maybe how we can do this is if starting off with introducing myself, and then we can talk about how I got into this industry. You know, what unit is particularly focused on, as well as if anyone's interested, please feel free to message what the underlying ethos is, what the mission is, why this industry is so exciting, and how we see it has a long future ahead. So to begin with, I'm half Singapore and half British. I've been building technology companies for the past 15 years. I originally got into crypto and digital assets in 2011. I was working for WikiLeaks. I built their mobile applications, and then the government didn't like what WikiLeaks was doing, and it basically froze the bank accounts, closed all the donation channels, PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, and made it really challenging and difficult to fundraise. And we started using this technology, Bitcoin, and it was super revolutionary. You know, this voice up here, I can move. Sorry about that. Maybe. Is that better now? Can you hear me? Yeah. Is it better? Also, you can try without the headphones. I apologize. Yep. Can you hear me now? Hopefully it's better. All right. Wonderful. Yep. So been in this space since 2011. Originally got involved, fortunately, with an introduction to Bitcoin. And what was so cool, it was the first technology where, you know, we didn't have to trust a central entity. So if you think most organizations, you know, banks, payment processors,
we all depend on a very small number of people, and we kind of hope and trust that, we can rely on them. And it was really cool because Bitcoin was the first thing which didn't need this central entity. It allowed you to send, receive payments and do it in a distributed way where you didn't need to trust a small number of individuals. I'm currently in Argentina, attending a Polkadot development program. And, somewhere like Indonesia, the currency has dropped 15% in the past 2 weeks. And, it's really shocking. Like the idea that, someone can work hard, save money, and then out of no fault of their own, the value of their savings just depreciate, just becomes worth 15% less. So, I think this is really just the beginning of this digital asset revolution. I think coins, tokens, blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot, all of these blockchains are going to play such an instrumental role in the future. And I'm really excited to talk about today how Unit fits into this mission and vision of the token economy. I'd like to explain what the token economy is, why it's so important and relevant, and how people here can think deeply about how to apply the token economy to the real world. Okay, so a little bit of thought. There's basically two groups in society. There's one group which is the founders and the investors, and there's another group which is the customers and employees. And basically all of the value in the world gets accrued by the founders and the investors, not the customers and employees. So if you think about Elon Musk, you think about Jeff Bezos, you think about Mark Zuckerberg, these are the founders, and the people who invested in them are the investors. They capture all of the value in the world. If you're like an employee or a customer, you're a content creator, you're a user, you don't benefit in all of this significant upside. And it's a little bit broken. If you look at something like PayPal, if you were the first PayPal user, or you're the first Uber driver or Uber customer, you didn't get to receive the $80 billion that Uber went on the stock exchange for. All of that money went to the founders, all of it went to the investors, right? If you think about something like PayPal, if you're the first PayPal user, you send, receive payments user, you told your friends about it, you're like, guys, this is great, I can make payments online. You didn't receive the billions of dollars that eBay paid for it, and you didn't receive any of the money when it went on the stock exchange. But you compare that to something like Bitcoin or something like Ethereum or something like Polkadot, or BNB or Matic, all of these blockchains provide a way for the community, allows all of the users to get a piece of the upside. So, what the token economy represents, in our opinion, is a economy where the ownership of things are held in tokens. So what that means is, let's say your favorite restaurant, your favorite cafe, your friend who's a football player, just think that there's going to be a token which captures their value. It's instead of it being stocks and shares, it's going to be a token. And that token is going to tell, okay, the founder of it, they get this many percent, the investors who put in some money, they get this many percent, the customers of it, let's say you're the first customer, you went into the cafe when it was empty, you're like, okay, I'm going to buy, $10 or 10 euro or 10 pounds worth of this cafe. And you're going to tell your friends, guys, let's go check out the cafe. Let's organize some events. Let's get more people to hear about it. So really exciting thought is this idea that any business, any person, any project is going to be using tokens in the coming decade. So how does Unit fit into that? We basically realized that tokens are a really big future, and we're a really easy to use tokenization network and platform. What that basically means is, let's say I'm a person, I can create a token, I can give my friends, my family some of my tokens, so that when I become successful in what I'm enjoying to do, let's say sport, or let's say I start a business, or I get a good job, I can put some of that value that I make into my token, and I don't capture all of it. I don't get all of it. It gets shared amongst my community, and all of these people, my friends, my family, they're going to be incentivized. They're going to be motivated to help me achieve what I want. So if you can think of everyone here, and you think about, your friends who had an idea and they made it successful, you probably recognize that before they were really successful. You're like, okay, she's really talented, or he's really smart. It would have been nice if you could have been like, hey, how can I buy some of your tokens, or how can I support you on your journey to receive some of your tokens? So Unit basically makes it really, really easy to do that. If you go into unit.network, we can also post an invitation link. This is what the platform looks like. And if you hit launch app, yep. If you want to create a token, you basically go to create, and let's say I'm going to create a Unit master's demo token. You just hit create, right? So just like that, you've created a token. So, creating a website used to be really tough. Creating an app, or having something on mobile used to be really tough. And Unit basically makes it really, really easy. Like just like that, we've created a coin, and every coin basically has a concept of a bank and a treasury. So the bank basically tells you how it's doing on an operating basis. Is it generating revenue? Is it spending money? How is it doing? And let's say I was a musician, and everyone here gave me $10. Let's say collectively it's $1,000 or $2,000. I use that money and I make it $100,000 or like $2 million, right? How are you going to be protected to make sure that I don't run away with that money, or how do you make sure that I don't I'm actually going to give you some of those profits thanks to you supporting me in my career? That's where the treasury comes in. So basically, when people generate lots of revenue, they provide products, provide services, that goes to the bank. Once there's a sizable amount of surplus or extra in the bank, that can go to the treasury, and the treasury basically gives you an indication of the lowest price. So like, what does that mean, lowest price? So you can see that there's 100,000 Unit Masters demo tokens. If there was $100,000 here, the lowest price would be $1. That basically tells you that, okay, in the worst case scenario, it's not going to drop below $1, because the creator of the token, the manager of the token, has moved funds from the bank to the treasury, and they can't touch this money in the treasury anymore. It's basically protecting everyone in the community, right? And then there's also an exchange that gets built in. So basically, every token has this exchange where you can add in USD as well as the name of the token that you're creating. And based on the ratio of these two tokens, it's going to tell you what the current price is of the token. So if there was, let's say, $200 here and 100 Unit Masters tokens, then a Unit Masters token is worth $2, right? If let's say there was 50 USDU and there was 100 Unit Masters demo token, then it'll be 50 cents. And this kind of changes based on people buying and selling it. It's called an automated market maker. And the most famous automated market maker was called Uniswap. They started it in 2020. Another automated market maker, which is quite popular, was called Bancor, BANCOR. And we're excited to take this concept of automated market makers, like exchanges, to everything in the world. Like, we think every single Unit Masters participant here will have a token. Okay, let me try and move to make it sound a bit better. Hopefully the audio be a bit better. Try here. Yeah, is it better now? Hopefully. No, the audio is perfect. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I'm sorry if it wasn't perfect. I tried my headphones. Cool. Yep. So basically, automated market makers are super cool. How it works is you stake funds into the pool, and then based on the ratio of these two tokens, it gives you a current price of what the token should trade at. There's two types of exchanges. There's a automated market maker exchange, and there's an order book exchange. So these are how coins and tokens get priced. The more common is the order book exchange. So if you've heard of Binance, you've heard of Coinbase, you've heard of Bittrex, you've heard of all of these very famous exchanges, they all use an order book exchange, ORDORE, BOK. Basically, Kraken, yeah, that's another well-known one, where people say, I want to buy Bitcoin at this price, I want to sell it at this price. And that's where it comes to a middle ground. I can also walk you through, if you go onto a website called CoinGecko, here you can see all the different digital assets. Let's say if we went to, Polkadot as an example. So if you go to Polkadot, I'm a big believer and early investor, and we're also built on Polkadot. And if you go to one of these exchanges, let's try this one or this one, or if you can see all trading pairs, go to maybe even Binance. Yep. So here you can see this is an order book, and like, why is the price of a Polkadot token $6.52? It's because the highest price that someone's willing to pay is $6.52 and 6.525, and the lowest price someone's willing to sell is $6.527. So all of these are the people trying to sell. and all these are people trying to buy, right? And then here on the right, you can see in the past couple minutes and seconds, someone sold 22 Polkadot tokens for $6.59. Someone sold 60 DOT tokens for $6.50. You can see the time, how many they were selling, and the price they were selling at. And also very interesting is the chart here. So you can see this chart, it kind of looks kind of tough to understand, like what are these bars, what are these lines? So you can see here on the time, there's 1 second, 15 minutes, 1 hour, 4 hours, and 1 day. As an example, we can put 15 minutes. Basically, what that means is each of these bars are 15 minutes. If you put 1 second, it basically means each of these bars are 1 second. So I'm gonna put 1 minute. So basically what that means is in this 1 minute, the lowest price that it was at was here, and the highest price it was at was here. And you can see where it's like a big, this is called a candlestick. Where it goes really thick is where the 1 minute started, and where the 1 minute ended. Where the 1 minute started, where it ended. Where it started, where it ended. Where it started, where it ended. And you can basically tell in that 1 minute what was the highest price, what was the lowest price, and what was the range by which it was at. So that's how order book exchanges work. And I guess why we're so excited about this this revolution is because when the internet started, it really revolutionized access to information. Before, if people wanted to learn about something, they needed to go to a library, they needed to speak to an expert. It's very expensive. They had to go to a university, which was very difficult to get into. It wasn't for everyone. And then the internet kind of said, information should be for everyone. If you want to learn something, you should use something called a search engine. Not many people knew what a search engine was before the internet. And you can go to something like Wikipedia, which is an encyclopedia, all the knowledge in the world. If Wikipedia was not specific enough, you could find out about a very niche topic. And it democratized access to information, right? And then you had the mobile phone, which said, it's pretty unfair that a small number of people in the world can, talk on the phone and, afford to pay, $2 a minute speaking overseas. Communication should be more seamless. So the mobile phone really revolutionized access to communication, right? Now, if you wanted to talk for an hour with your friend, you don't have to worry about the number of minutes you have. You could be on the other side of the world. You could send a video. Completely democratized. Now, digital assets provide this same opportunity where a small minority of people, they don't at the moment have difficulty in raising financing. They don't have difficulty in, they basically are investors, they start companies, but most of society are not able to capture that value. They don't have the ability to own things or own, piece of project by investing it, or be able to receive the resources to fund it. And what we're really excited for is an economy where people just don't have to worry about money as much, or the concept and experience of values is radically different. So we're pretty confident that through the token economy, people are just not going to experience money the same way, or they're not going to think about value the same way, just because there's going to be so much more flowing around. And how does that work? Well, if you think about something like Uber, if you were the first Uber driver, you got paid $15 an hour, $20 an hour, right? But then when Uber became really big, you didn't get any of the upside. You didn't get any of the value that was created by something like Uber. And why was that so? It's just because a lot of these companies, when they're created, it's not easy to distribute the value to all of the different stakeholders and people who are instrumental for the success. So what we're excited for is when tokens become much more available and accessible, then value is just going to be distributed much more equitably. So, one major takeaway, I think, is try and find a way how you can apply tokens into your local community. Organize meetups, bringing people together who are interested or curious, or who you'll like to give a head start to this token economy. I don't necessarily recommend investing or trading in coins or tokens, playing with exchanges or leverage trading. I would recommend trying to learn about it and trying to see how you can apply, traditional real world cases and assets and bring it into the token economy. I also recommend getting involved and, participating in one of the one of the initiatives that we have to offer. It's our 15th batch for our master's program. We have study groups all around the world. Would highly recommend everyone organizing a local study group, as well as trying to engage your local community. So we're really looking for ambassadors and leaders to bring this new technology to the forefront. You can also think of it like a country. Creating a token is like building your own nation. We're going to look back at this point in society and go, wow, it's crazy that people are working so hard on a piece of paper. They cut down trees, they put some ink on it, and that is what people are working for. The idea of a passport. You're born in a place, you get this book, they put some ink on it, and that defines your identity, right? And what is this book telling you? That book is telling you that inside these imaginary lines, this is your group of people. And we're going to look back at that and go, wow, it's so divisive, like splitting people apart. And internet nations are really going to supersede this, where if you look at something like Bitcoin, or you look at something like Ethereum or Polkadot or Unit Network or Unit as a technology, these are effectively groups of people who have a common goal and interest. And you could say that by if you hold one dot or you hold one unit, you're effectively a citizen of this internet nation. And you might think, okay, that's kind of ridiculous. How are these internet nations going to compete with the big, powerful governments, right? Well, I think one quote that I like to think about is that people underestimate how much can be done over 10 years, and they overestimate how much can be done in a year. So, 10 years ago, the mobile phone was coming about. Who was buying mobile phones? It was people, nerds and geeks sleeping outside the Apple store. And, it was really expensive. Everyone had a Nokia. Like, Nokia doesn't even produce phones anymore. And it was like, who's going to be able to afford an iPhone? It's going to be, the people who have lots of money, or people who, like to show off by having the new iPhone. And now, everyone, most people in the world have a smartphone. It's just so much more accessible and available to have a smartphone. So, now cryptocurrencies, digital assets, blockchain is not even at the iPhone moment. We're still at the Nokia, we're still at the BlackBerry stage. I'm really excited because I think Unit can be the iPhone moment. We can be what brings the token economy to the real world and just makes it so easy for people to actually appreciate the benefits of this technology. If someone's starting a local business, they can create a token and get everybody in the community motivated and incentivized to support that, that restaurant or business. And I'd love to see how we could, bring forward this knowledge and this technology to support the long tail of builders and people. Also, one thing I hadn't mentioned was within Unit we have a bunch of community features. So when you create a token, we've got the overview, which gives you an insight into who the biggest holders are of that token. You can add team members, you can add advisors, you can see how much money is in the bank, treasury, invite some people to the token. You can also use a bunch of the community features. So what does that mean? So it basically means you can create a poll, and you could say, what should ask a decision to your community, ask your token holders, like, should we be open on a Sunday? And then you can set yes, no, maybe, so another option, or what day should we host the meetups at our restaurant? And then the people who hold those tokens can vote on it. So that's the polls feature. The contest feature, so you can offer to give away a prize, let's say 100 unit Masters demo token to 2 winners, and you can say the contest is create a video talking about why you love the Unit Masters. And then when you create the contest, when people submit the videos, that's how you distribute the tokens to the people. You incentivize behavior. You can also organize an event. You set a date and time and bring together the community of token holders to do that. You can create grants. You can set up ranks. So basically say, if you hold this many tokens, you are this rank. And it's basically a fun way of gamifying this token economy. You can also set up a store to sell products and services. You can post a link and a title, kind of like if you've heard of Reddit, it's like a mini subreddit for your own token. You can post status updates. So these are some of the exciting things that we're working on within the Unit network. Another really cool thing are the vaults. So basically, how the vaults work are they're a way of distributing the value in the network. So at the moment, if you think about something like Binance, or you think about something like wrapped Bitcoin, or you think about Coinbase, you're having to trust a small number of people to hold all the value. When you deposit on Binance, you're like, I hope Binance gives me back this money back, give me the money back, right? Same with FTX. I was one of the first users of FTX. Sam used to help me with customer support there. And it was so disappointing. This let a lot of people down. And the problem is the systems were built where you needed to trust. And it really should move to a trust-free system where you can verify, you don't have to hope that things are so decentralized exchanges are going to be really exciting. The other cool thing is with the vaults, it basically decentralizes the underlying funds on the network. So instead of sending money to a company or an entity and trusting that they're going to help you get back the tokens, the vaults really decentralize and distributes it. The other thing to think about is there's this concept of bridging. So at the moment, blockchains are very fragmented. So you've got Bitcoin, you've got Ethereum, you've got Matic, you've got all of these chains, and they don't interact well with each other. People need to use centralized exchanges. We're really excited for where bridges become decentralized, and how we approach that is, if you think about something, there's basically two ways to do bridges. The first one is called wrap Bitcoin. So if you Google maybe WBTC or wrap Bitcoin, you'll see that the wrap Bitcoin token is a way of using Bitcoin on, say, Ethereum. But the issue with that is all of the Bitcoin is being held by what's called a custody provider with something called BitGo. You're kind of hoping that when you give them the Bitcoin, they're going to take care of it. They give you a ERC20 version and a tokenized version of that Bitcoin on Ethereum. And when you give them back this WBTC, this wrap Bitcoin, you're going to get back the Bitcoin. What the vaults do within Unit is to decentralize and distribute that risk, where it isn't a single entity that holds all of the value. It gets distributed to many entities. Let me answer a few questions here. So is the Unit token listed on any CEXs or DEXs? So not at the moment. We will be soon. I mean, we're built on this protocol called Cohort and Substrate, which doesn't yet support many DEXs, but it's coming soon. And also the way we view centralized exchanges is they're, highly corrupt and a lot of wash trading. So we basically want to drive trading volume on our exchange and have it done in a decentralized way, just so that people can, verify and they can really see what's going on. When you do trades on Unit, you can see who are the buyers and sellers. It's much more transparent, so you don't get fake wash trading. But I think it's really just a matter of time before that. So question here from Javera: being novel to token economy, what other sources can we learn and start the local business using token economy? So I would recommend maybe one business to start is when the internet got created, people created website development businesses, and it basically allowed the internet to form, allowed the web to be created. We think that a big opportunity is like a token agency. So if someone wants to create a token, then we think there's a big opportunity in helping people launch tokens, helping people get educated, learning about how wallets work, making sure that people are protected. How do you compare the value of tokens? So at the moment, we think tokens are highly speculative. We think that there's a lot of opacity, not very transparent. We think that the treasury is going to play a really big role there. And how the treasury plays a big role is it's going to be very clear what the underlying tokens are worth. So if you think about most coins at the moment, they are based on speculative value. There's lack of underlying value. Basically, when this treasury value gets established, you'll be able to tell, okay, how much value is this token able to add, how much value is this token able to add to its treasury on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and that gives you an idea of how valuable a token should be, based on the amount of underlying value that gets created. Cool. A question here from Ezekiel: does a community define the use case of a token, or the token which defines the use case for the community? That's a good question. I would say it's a combination of the two. I think people create a community or a business, and then the token will represent the value of that token. You can think of it like a better version of shares, or you can think of it like a decentralized version of stocks. But it's very important to understand what the underlying value is for that token. Yep. Cool. David's got a great point here. Unit is built on the Polkadot ecosystem, like parroting the Web3 Foundation. There's a really cool event called Dot Safari. I'm excited to be attending, and many of our team members will be there too. So yeah, look forward to see some of the community there. Point here from Moma, apart from learning the blockchain, what can we fully get involved in this project? So great question. So we organize lots of conferences, live and online. We're also present at many of the major conferences globally. We have a ventures program. So after you finish the master's program, you can apply to our ventures program, where we support you in launching a token. It's completely free, like our master's program. And our goal here is to build the biggest accelerator and incubator for token-based projects. So, let's say if you want to launch a token, you would join the ventures program. We'll help you launch it. If it needs financing, we can help you with that. And we just want lots of really good case studies and examples of things which use tokens. We also have a university wing, which is writing research reports. We have a news wing, which is focused on publishing articles. Yeah, so those are a few. Does every coin has its own blockchain, or is there a main blockchain every transactions go through? That's a great question. So the way we look at it is crypto blockchain tokens are just so early at the moment, where people are still thinking about the blockchain aspect. We're really excited for a future where the blockchain piece people don't even know or think about. So if you think about the cables, that power our conversation at the moment, the cables that sit under the ocean, nobody really needs to understand, how well these cables are operating, how TCP/IP works, how this platform which we're using functions. People just care about the use of it. They care about the problems it's solving, the opportunities it provides. So we see the same thing as with tokens. Like a lot of technology will be powered by blockchains in a decentralized way. It'll be much more transparent, and it's really just a matter of time before we get to that stage where you don't need to trust a small number of people. You can basically rely on the truth. Cool. Vikas has a point. Did not understand the treasury concept. It values tokens. How does that work? That's a great point. So basically, all coins at the moment are entirely speculatively based in terms of its pricing. If you buy a coin for $10, it could drop to $1. It could drop to 50 cents. It could go up to $200. There's no book value, underlying value. What we basically say is there should be a way to tell what your risk is when you buy a coin or token. So let's say if you bought some Thompson token or some Oliver or some Chanel or some Bala, you should be able to know that if you bought $1 of it, there's 50 cents in the treasury, there's 50 cents in underlying value that's backing up the token. So as an example, say that there was 100 tokens, there was a token of 100 supply, and there's $500 worth of DOT or unit or Bitcoin in the treasury. You know that the lowest price is $5. That means that, it could be traded at $12, $15, but it's not going to drop below this $5 mark. Now, if there's an additional, $200 which goes in, now that's $500 plus $200, which is $700. Now the lowest price becomes $7. So it basically gives you an indicator of underlying value, and it provides a way for people to understand, what is the underlying value behind the token. Yeah, and we think every single business or project will have that same. Great question. So if the token is not asked about how does it get value, so you need to convert that revenue into digital assets. So Bitcoin, ETH, DOT, and then Solana, BNB, we support 15 assets, and that is what backs up these tokens in the treasury. So I can post my LinkedIn here. I'll post my Twitter handle, and yeah, please feel free to reach out. Love to find a way to team up and synchronize sync up with everyone here. It's amazing how much this community has grown, and we're really excited to see how we can take it to the next level. Yeah, really appreciate everyone's time here. Does anyone have any other questions or feedback or thoughts? What is required for one to create a launch a coin and be generally accepted? Is that we're promoting? That's a great point. So I would recommend using the Unit Network platform. We think it's the simplest way to create a token or a DAO. Can post a link here too. And we think that this process of creating a coin or token is just going to be much more commonplace. If you have an idea for a project, or you have a friend who's a talent, a musician or footballer, they're going to have a coin, and you're going to be able to support them in their craft. and partake in their upside. Yep, cool. Maybe one or two more questions, and I guess you can wrap up around 40 minutes. So I just want to be respectful for everyone's time. Maxwell, explain the difference between a token and a DAO. That's a great question. So you can think of so I guess you can say what's the difference between a coin, a token, and a DAO. So first is a coin. So a coin typically has its own blockchain. So you can think about something like Bitcoin as a coin, Ethereum as a coin, Solana, BNB, Polkadot. These are coins. Dot is a coin. And then you can think of something which is built on a blockchain as a token. So if you think of USDT, the USDC, these are tokens because they don't have their own blockchain, right? So if you can think of Unit, that's a coin. You can think of the tokens that get issued on Unit. Those are effectively tokens. They're not coins because they don't need to worry about securing their own blockchain. They're not like a what's called layer 0 blockchain or layer 1 blockchain. And then the concept of a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, it's really a spectrum, so the concept behind it, you can think of Bitcoin as a DAO, you can think of Ethereum as a DAO, it's decentral, it's an organization, it's a group of people, it's got a common mission, it's autonomous, meaning it runs by itself. You don't need to have a board of directors, you don't need to have a CEO, you don't have to have a payroll, you don't have to have a company which files annual returns every year. It's self-running, it's autonomous, and it's decentralized. That's a very important aspect. So it's not one person or three people that control it. It's many nodes, or it's arguably decentralized from the technology aspect. So it's really a spectrum. I mean, I think you can think of Bitcoin as being very decentralized. It doesn't have a leader or a spokesperson that's pushing for it. You can say that Ethereum is decentralized. People can say Ethereum's also not decentralized because of the Ethereum Foundation and Vitalik as a leader. But it's really a spectrum, and I would think that a lot of companies which are very centralized will move towards being DAOs. So part of the mission behind Unit is to really bring about that shift. Sanchit is saying, when we talk about consensus in a tokenization community, in the current time when sustainability, where proof of work consensus is having a negative impact on the environment, is Unit Masters working towards a proof of stake which is more sustainable? Absolutely. So Unit as a blockchain is powered by the Polkadot network, which doesn't use proof of work. It uses delegated proof of stake, which is much more environmental. It's much more scalable. I think it's also much more decentralized. Yeah. So yeah, we think the environmental piece is super important. Cool. Liras has a good point. We've been talking about the value of tokens. What about the issue of liquidity? So the cool thing is that if a token has value, then it will be much more liquid, meaning that if people can see, okay, wow, there's a real business, there's real operations going on, the lowest price of the token goes up, it increases in providing more security to its token holders, then people are going to put tokens into what's called the liquidity pool in the exchange. And that's what's going to provide trading liquidity. Question, Bala, great question. Explain the term liquidity. So what liquidity basically means is, let's say if you made a Bala token and I wanted to buy some Bala token and then I want to sell it and I want to buy it back again, is there enough people that are buying and selling it to make it liquid? So you can think you've got liquids and you've got solids. Solids don't move around too much, while liquid, something like water, moves around. So if the Bala token is liquid, it means that I can buy it, I can sell it, I can trade it. If it's illiquid, so you got a lot of coins which have people say no liquidity, it basically means if you buy some, you probably can't sell it. If people say buying a house is no liquidity, if you buy a house, you paid for the house, you own the house, you got this piece of paper saying you own the house, it's not very liquid. You can't just say tomorrow I want to sell the house and someone will buy it like that. You need to go to a real estate agent, you need to advertise for it, and someone maybe a few weeks, days, or months later will say, hey, I want to buy the house, and that's illiquid. But if you've got some, let's say Bitcoin or some Apple stock, it's very liquid because many people are buying, selling, and trading it. Cool, thank you so much, Asala, crypto auntie. I really appreciate your words. Isn't proof of stake more centralized? So that's one criticism, because some people say the people who stake on the proof of stake networks, the people who provide the validation, the security, the decentralization for the network, are the ones who have the money. But you can the money to stake tokens to provide these miners or validators. The issue though with proof of work is it's also very centralized. Not many people can afford the computers. They can buy, mining farms. So, they both go hand in hand. Like I'm excited for a future where everybody can become a miner or a validator of their computer. And I really think it's just a matter of time. Can one have a session separately to share ideas that we can both work on top of the community? I think that's a great idea. If we reach out to our masters team, also talk to our ventures team. We also have a city team that we're trying to build up ambassadors and organize local events. That's a really good idea, Maxwell. Next question, can something like FTX happen to Binance someday? That's a great question. I mean, the way to think about it is that if it can happen, it probably will happen. So you just need to be prepared for it. Like as mentioned before, I was one of the first users of FTX. I've done lots and lots of trading on there. But I never have left any money on the exchange. Like every time I put money on exchange, I'm thinking, okay, well, there is a big risk in leaving on the exchange, and I'll take it off as soon as possible. If I'm, let's say, trading, a large amount of money, I won't deposit it, trade it all at once, and then take it off. I'll do small amounts just to make sure that it's called a counterparty risk. So if you go counterparty risk, that is the risk by which when you work with something like an exchange, you might lose whatever you're working with. So really unfortunate what happened with FTX. I really hope that our industry learns and we move from working with centralized exchanges to decentralized exchanges. Question from Mihar, what does an ideal tokenomics look like? So I would say one which is very simple. So I think ones which are overly complicated are actually bad. Like a lot of people think, the more complicated you make it, the better the tokenomics is. I think it should be easy to explain. I think there should be an underlying product or service. So I think it shouldn't just depend on new investors or token holders coming in to keep up the price. It should be very clear what the underlying product and service being offered is. And it should be profitable, the product and service. So if let's say I had a restaurant or chain of restaurants and I created a token for my restaurants, it's important that I'm not losing money on every plate of food. If I launch a nightclub or a membership club, I want to have membership fees which generate revenue which support the underlying token value. Not just have it based on not just based on speculation. How does an ideal token? That's right. You'll learn about it in Module 5. So I really appreciate everyone's patience there. The value of some tokens determined by the value of gold and the number of patrons joined. How about the unit masters one? Yep. So the interesting thing about gold is that it's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot. It's a reserve asset, but it's really tough to move around, and it's potentially maybe slightly more illiquid. So if you had a bar of gold somewhere, it's not as easy potentially to sell that bar of gold than it is to sell digital assets. What does the IOU mean? I'm not so familiar. I mean, IOU is usually you owing someone, but in this scenario, I'm not sure. Will Unit be offering liquidity as a service for community to projects? Potentially. So best is to speak to our ventures team. I think we're working hard on providing a bunch of services and value to the community there in a decentralized way. Can this teaching lead to blockchain and Web3 programming? Most definitely. So we will be launching a course teaching people how to build blockchains and smart contracts. So that's coming soon. Mariano says, don't you think that mining farms are still too unsustainable? I do think so. So I do think, people think Bitcoin is the biggest coin, it's going to be around forever. But I really think of it like Nokia, it's the first, it was like Yahoo, it's big as, but there will be things that replace it. And, I'm a big believer in Bitcoin and early supporter and investor in it, but I do think that will be bigger and better. What's your say on crypto and DeFi regulation? Good question. I think regulators are really struggling to understand what this technology does and doesn't do. I think first it's important to understand, and then it is to regulate. Because if you regulate without understanding, then it's not good for the technology or for the people of the ecosystem. What's the difference between? So overall, I think the regulation might get tougher in the short run, but then in the long run, this technology is really going to do so much good for the world. And it's not like, is this going to happen, or if it happens, but it's really about when is this going to happen. A question: what's the difference between token and NFT? Very similar. So you could say, a token is a fungible token, and NFT is a non-fungible token. So if let's say you created 5 NFTs, each of the 5 will have an addition, like number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. A token, if you've created 5 tokens, there isn't token number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're tradable. They're much more liquid. Yeah. Cool. We've got 2 minutes to go, so I'll try and answer maybe 2 or 3 more questions. Please share with us what qualifies someone to be an ambassador so we can work towards it. That's a great question, Maxwell. So I think most important is enthusiasm and attitude and taking initiative. So if you reach out to our masters team, they'll connect you to our city team, and we'll be organizing lots of city events and gatherings. Love to see how we can get out this grassroots movement moving significantly forward. We're also working with the Polkadot treasury, so we'll be teaching everyone lots more about how to use Polkadot.js, how to stake a dot, how to understand what a parachain is, things like that. We're really excited about this technology, as well as participating in this dot token economy. Question from Sanjit. Also, when we talk about DAOs, do you think that the future will be subjected to tax? How can we determine value when there's no exchange rate or comparable available? Do we define comparable as a community? Because if the DAO is used for something criminal, are the consumers liable for it, even if not the one who created it, the activity? So this is a huge question mark. I mean, it's really unclear how taxation and regulation will work. I do think it will be seamlessly integrated, the same way, when newspapers were displaced by the internet, people weren't sure how, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Financial Times would integrate with the internet, but then they just launched digital versions of their newspapers. So you can say the same about, taxation. You can say the same about regulation and enforcement. I do think it will flow nicely together. I like to think of tokens as effectively digital shares or digital companies, and I think that's a really cool way to think about it. Is the value of the NFT decided by the seller or something people bid on? That's a good question. So it's actually decided kind of by both, because the seller says what their price is, and then people are agreeing or disagreeing to buy at that price. And if you go into something like OpenSea, you'll be able to see what the floor price is, which basically means that is the lowest price that you can pay to buy buy this NFT. Whoops. Stacey's got a question. Regulate first. As a question, regulate first, understand later. So I mean, the tricky thing about regulating first and understanding later is then you might not do the right regulation. You might do things which actually hurt this innovation. You might stagnate it for a while. So I do think it's important before doing an action to really understand what are the implications of the action. Mashido, where do you recommend we keep coins of exchanges, if not exchanges like FTX? I would recommend a cold wallet, so something like a Ledger or a Trezor or something like Exodus. These are really good self custody wallets. I don't recommend using exchanges or platforms which hold your keys or crypto. Lera's got a point here. White shark seems to be the culprit dictating the ups and downs of specific cryptocurrency. Is there any way to address the issue of white shark determining the algorithm of buying and selling that throw away the small fish? Well, I think as this industry becomes bigger, it's going to be much tougher for individual people to affect and to dictate how well markets perform. We're just so early and small. Like if you think about the whole blockchain industry, it's under $1 trillion in valuation, which is smaller than Google or Apple or Facebook. So it's really small, and it's got so much growth and future to come. Point here from here. After regulations are in place, will the blockchains be centralized or decentralized? I do think we'll get both, but I do think it will move towards a point of decentralization, because the problem with centralized things is they will end up being corrupt. There's a nice quote: "Absolute power corrupts absolutely." So the problem is if there is power in a centralized group, it will become corrupted. So we can't afford for this corruption to become so. Yep, you also learn more about it in module 2. As Vikas said, DAO is another organization structure. There'll be no difference in taxation or regulation. That's correct. I do think if it is decentralized, so like the internet isn't a company and it doesn't pay tax, it is effectively a decentralized technology. So I do think things like Bitcoin, things like Polkadot, might not be taxed like a company because of its decentralized nature, like a technology. Yeah, but it's been really enjoyable, and look forward to keep in touch with the community, and I really hope to see how we can work together to see how, you know, this batch and community can be involved in this token economy. I really think it's such an exciting journey ahead, and I love to be involved and support and have everyone's support here on helping in build up the mission of the token economy. Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone. Look forward to keeping in touch, and yeah, please feel free to message and reach out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Great to have you here today. Amazing session, and thank you guys for your questions. Thank you for keeping the room very interactive and engaging. Shows your enthusiasm for the Unit Masters program. We will end this here for today, and hopefully we'll see lots more of you join us tomorrow for another very enlightening and interactive session. So we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you so much, Micah.